There are fresh warnings about millions of people in Nigeria facing a severe shortage of food. The UN is warning that more than 100,000 people, and most of them are children, could die of starvation unless they get help. The scale of the crisis is emerging as the Nigerian military pushes into areas previously held by the militant group Boko Haram. Our Nigeria correspondent Martin Patience sent this report from Borno State. There are images you may find distressing.
Until now, they were out of reach, the hidden victims of Boko Haram. But every day, more families emerge from the bush, fleeing the Islamist militants. 200 people arrived at this camp in the past few days. They carried what little they could.
Boko Haram whipped us like prisoners. They slaughtered some of us. Our sons were forced to join them. They stole our cattle. They stole our food. Life was horrible. When you get a chance to escape, you take it.
Uprooted from their farms, people can't feed themselves. The UN is warning of mass starvation. Aid relief is now getting through to some of the worst affected areas, but the challenge is that as the army pushes into Boko Haram-controlled territory, it frees more people. And what that means is the already enormous humanitarian needs keep on growing. Halima's 2-year-old son, Usman, is suffering from severe malnutrition. It was better in the village, she says. At least there was food. Usman is taken to a clinic for treatment, but he's far from being the worst case here. Hawa is 8 months old. Her tiny body weighs just a third of what it should at this age.
There are those days that you just sit down and you just have to sit back and just look at what is happening. Yeah, it can get overwhelming sometimes. We've had, I think, 2 cases that died on the way here. You know, it's really tough when you see those kind of things.
We flew over large parts of the state. Every town we saw destroyed by the fighting. Here, the Nigerian army is burning shrub to stop militants taking cover. Until people can return home, they'll need to rely on aid. But a third of the houses in Borno State are destroyed. And without more assistance, the governor has this warning for the West.
If Nigeria is to implode, it's going to be a very frightening prospect. Up north is the Sahara Desert. If 30 million English-speaking Africans will be knocking on the doors of Europe, it will be a much more frightening prospect. Even the 2-3 million Syrians have unsettled Europe.
Something as simple as collecting water here can mean risking your life, even in government-controlled areas. Years of fighting have shattered this society, and the war against Boko Haram is still not won. Martin Patience, BBC News, northeastern Nigeria.
With me now is Chidi Nwonu, who's a Nigerian security consultant and blogger who visited Borno, Chidi, what was it, just 2 weeks ago. We'll get on to some of the points Martin makes there. What did you find, or what's it like, Borno State, today?
I would say that Borno State has improved greatly from the last few times that I've been there. The security situation has improved greatly. So within the city itself, the security is generally being provided by civilian JTF and the police. There's a much reduced security and military presence. On the outskirts of the city, you know, there's a much greater military presence, but the military, in contrast to, you know, my previous experience, is much more disciplined, much more focused, you know, and very, very determined to defeat Boko Haram.
So when the president says, we are defeating Boko Haram, we've almost crushed them, is that a fair comment from what you've seen? Broadly,
it's a fair comment, however, with some severe caveats. So the defeat of Boko Haram in the Sambisa forest is an accurate, you know, depiction of that. So Boko Haram has been defeated as a formed conventional force. However, they did still withdraw in relatively good form with some of their heavy weapons, with their hostages, you know, namely the Chibok girls, and also with their command element. So within the Sambisa forest, they might be defeated, but their forces are still at the loose. And towards in the north, in the Lake Chad area, you still have them holding territory, and you still have them, you know, with their heavy weapons and as a formed unit.
Right, but the point would be, I suppose, as we've seen there, that there are vast swathes of territory which are now freed up.
Yes.
Those people within leading a pretty dreadful existence now. So it's possible, is it, to go in there and help these people?
Oh yes, there's definitely a need for, you know, for there to be some sort of an intervention. However, where the devil is in the detail of it. So the interventions would have to be, you know, coordinated with the military. So whilst the enemy might not dominate that area, they can deny that area either through IEDs or ambushes or just, you know, petty harassments of the villagers. So there is still a key security element that's needed with the aid element.
And what sort of, I mean, I think you were saying there are a lot of NGOs, non-government organisations working out there. There are hundreds of thousands, if not more, people in this sort of state. I presume it's a drop in the ocean in terms of aid at the moment.
Yes, so I mean, the aid agencies, there's a plethora of aid agencies. I mean, there's organizations from Norway to Denmark, you know, to China to Japan out there, and they're all doing, you know, quite good work. However, the problem is that a lot of the IDPs and refugees are in far-flung places like Baga, Bama, Dikwa, and those roads are not yet cleared. So whilst the military can, you know, traverse those roads fairly easily, for civilian convoys, you need a military escort, and it only takes one IED or one fellow with an RPG or an AK, and you've disrupted an aid convoy, which is, you know, what happened several times while I was there.
So a massive challenge ahead. Chidi, thanks very much indeed to you.
Thank you for having me.